Welcome to this week's edition of Inter-University Debate. Inter-University Debate is brought to you by Center for Constitutional Governance and Civic Space TV. I'm your moderator for this talk show. My name is Lake Gender Fancy. I'm an advocate, a lecturer, and a tax consultant. So this week we are hosting the students of St. Lawrence University. The students are going to unpack the topic, the state of multi-party politics in Uganda. This is something that has been intensely discussed, especially over social media for the past few weeks, and as well for the past months and years, we have been talking about multi-party politics in this country. Before we delve into the topic, let me introduce to you the panelists for today. I'll start with the gentleman who is seated right next to me. He is called Mawerere Kitimbo Ivan. He is pursuing Bachelor's of Arts with Education at St. Lawrence University, and he is the former Vice Guild President of the university. Ivan, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right next to Ivan, we have Miss Namakula Josepihne, who is familiar to this talk show. She is also pursuing Bachelor's of Arts with Education, and she is the Vice President, Sunrise Foundation at St. Lawrence University. Josephine, you're welcome to this talk show.
Thank you so much, Gender, for coming again to meet our viewers.
Okay. Our third panelist for today is Mr. Mwanje Derick. Derick is pursuing Bachelor's of Economics and Statistics, and he is the Vice President of Patriotism Club at St. Lawrence University. Derick, you're welcome.
Thank you, madam.
Okay, last but not least is Miss Nankya Rovincer. She is pursuing Bachelor's of Arts with Education, and she is the former female MP for Education, and currently she is the EC Secretary Publicity. Rovincer, you're welcome to this talk show.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so those are our four panelists for today, and as you see, they are all students of St. Lawrence University. So to introduce this topic for today, multi-party politics in Uganda. 17 years ago, and that was in 2005, Ugandans voted for multi-party politics in Uganda. And that was after a long period of the movement political system in this country. So the movement political system took some time. In 2000, there was a referendum that voted against multi-party system. In 2005, the referendum result, Ugandans voted for the multi-party politics in Uganda. So 17 years down the road, we sit down and evaluate due to the different events that have occurred. So what is the background of multi-party politics in Uganda? What was the rationale for bringing multi-party politics in Uganda? What is the legal backing? And moving forward, we are also going to discuss the NRM-DP marriage as referred to all over the social media. That is the NRM-DP cooperation agreement. We are going to look at IPOD as well as the size of parliament. So let us delve into the discussion, and let me start right with Ivan. So Ivan, take us back in history. What is the background of multi-party politics in this country?
Thank you, Madam Gender. Earlier, as we had the British colonialists in Uganda, we see that the need for Ugandans to have their independence brought in or forced them to come up with political parties, to organize themselves such that they can fight for their independence, such that they can fight for their liberation. We see that political parties were formed, and by 1959, we had political parties like Kabaka Yeka, KY, we had UPC, and other political parties that came in to prepare for their independence and to also fight and bargain for their rights from the colonialists that we had by that time in Uganda, who had taken over power from the Ugandans. So after that, in 1962, Uganda got its independence, and these political parties continued to exist. Way back in 1967, we see that when Milton Obote came into power as the president, he abolished the political parties. And we only remained with the UPC as the only active political party. As time went on, in 1986, we had the current president of Uganda, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, coming into power. When he came into power, he also initiated the non-party movement in Uganda, whereby parties were existing, but they were inactive. They could not exercise their roles as we see now in the current Uganda. We had many political parties, but it was only NRM that had some rights because it was in power.
Yeah.
So other political parties had their rights were limited to fully participate in the political affairs of the country. In 1889, 88, 89, we see that there was a need to bring back the multi-party system in Uganda. But those ones who wanted to bring up this agenda were not strong enough and united. It failed. Still, the NRM continued to take over under His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni up to 1995, whereby they decided to have an election. And in that election still, the multi-party system was not brought back in Uganda. But we see that we had Paul Mwanje coming up to contest as a president from DP. The other political parties, they cooperated and brought up a candidate, a sole candidate, who came and stood against the President Yoweri Museveni, and unfortunately, still President Yoweri Museveni won by 74%.
It's unfortunate.
Yes.
Was it unfortunate?
So
Okay, you can
then after President Museveni winning, still we remained in the same system, the non-party movement, and other political parties were in place, but not participating fully or not having all the rights to participate as they wished to. We see that in 2000, a referendum was made whereby the Ugandans had to vote on whether to have the multi-party system back or to keep it away further. And we see that by that time, 90% of the people who turned up to vote, they voted against the multi-party system. And from the referendum, it had to be that the multi-party system was unnecessary to Uganda because people had voted against it. We continued to move under still the leadership of Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, and in 2005, the same referendum was brought back. And this time around, the same percentage that voted against again came and voted for. And then we had the multi-party system brought back in Uganda, and then we had political parties now beginning again to take part in the elections, to campaign freely, and to expose whatever they feel like in the political space of the country. And today, we see various political parties like National Unity Platform, the Democratic Party, the Forum for Democratic Change. They are fully participating with all their rights. Thank you.
Okay, before I move to Josephine, Ivan, I would like to ask you about the same percentage that voted in 2000 was the same percentage that voted in 2005.
Yes.
Now, my question to you is, 2005, NRM was at the forefront of saying, let us not vote for multi-party politics. Then a big percent did not vote for it. In 2005, NRM was campaigning for multi-party politics.
Yes.
A big percent voted for multi-party politics.
Yes.
Do you think multi-party politics is being driven by NRM ruling party, or the Ugandans actually understand and they wholly accepted to move from movement political system to multi-party politics?
Okay, thank you. We had the referendum whereby 90% of the people who turned up to vote voted against in 2000. So after that referendum, some little time, we had Dr. Kano Kizza Besigye coming up on the opposition. His coming opened up the minds of the Ugandans because he's a strong politician. He came and sensitized the people on how they have to exercise their rights in politics, such that these limits can be abolished. So I think that when it was brought back in 2005, people were already enlightened by Dr. Kano Kizza Besigye that they should have a right to belong to different political parties.
Okay. Okay, let me bring Josephine into the discussion right there. Josephine, do you agree with Ivan that people had actually understood multi-party politics and embraced it, and that is why they voted for it in 2005?
Yeah, if you're to look back at what he has brought up, he brought up, by the way, a good historical background. Just part of it that he misspoke about was 1988, when they brought in the independent individuals to start contesting for this. So if you are to look at way back after Obote coming in and abolishing the multi-party system, then we saw a military government that ruled. So we are looking there around 1971. 1979, still we speak about the Asians fighting with Ugandans. So if you are to look at 2000, back at the question you've addressed to me, 2000, a referendum is brought to people who have been used as now non-multi-party. Because we are looking at now multi-party being abolished, 1967. So if you are to look at a generation that has rose up, very many people know nothing about multi-party. So if these people know nothing, 2000, it's brought to them. This is what happens. We need different parties. We need to have JEMA. We need to have this. So they are giving them a new idea. So I expect them also, if it was me, if I'm to put myself in those shoes around 2000, I expect them to neglect something because they don't know. Now 2001, like Ivan has spoken about Kizza Besigye coming in as independent. So people started rising the need. But I don't agree with him that it was Dr. Kizza Besigye that opened up the minds of the people. Because we believe if NRM supported it, why is it that very many people took it up after getting a word from NRM? So me, I believe NRM sensitized the people about multi-party and how good it is. And that's why we see them accepting the votes to be high to 90%.
Okay. Okay, Josephine, now I would like you to pick up from there.
Yes.
So what is the legal backing for multi-party politics in this country?
So if we are to follow the law, Article 69, Article 70, and Article 71, all of these work in accordance to multi-party being legal in our country. So we have a constitution, according to the Constitution of Uganda, in Article 69, 70, and 71, they legally embark it up that it is right and it should be done. Because without its backing, we couldn't have the political parties we are having today. We are having very many political parties. But because of the articles that are already stated in our Constitution of Uganda, that's why we have them and they are still ruling to the apex.
Okay, thank you, Josephine. Let me move and bring Derick into the discussion.
Yes.
So, Derick, looking at the movement by Ugandans to vote for multi-party politics in 2005 and move away from the movement political system, what do you think are the rationale for voting for a multi-party political system?
Yes, thank you so much, our moderator. Looking at that view or looking at that point, there were several reasons as why these Ugandans came in to vote for multi-party system in Uganda. Some of the reasons are that there is what we call vote participation, okay? Way back, the Ugandans were not allowed to participate in voting in elections, reason being that they were supposed to vote on one government, that ruling government that came from the bush. But with the referendum after accepting it in 2005, Ugandans had that interest, saw that so that advantage in front of them that they will have that chance to participate when it comes to times of elections. Okay, they had to vote, they had to carry out what we call election processes so that they may give out their right choices. Okay, they vote from their heart, a person who could represent them in parliament and who could be the leader of the state. Then the other thing is that it gave what you call a broad percentage to the people of Uganda. Why do I say like that? It's because they were given a chance to vote, therefore they were given a chance to select which party are they supposed to vote to lead them, and which party can be left behind, but it can help them to bring out their views very well, which the ruling government had not worked upon very well. Then the other thing is that it ensures what we call multi-party system, ensures the link between the opposition and the ruling government. They work hand in hand. Though nowadays we are seeing some grievances between the political parties, but by that time they saw it that it is of great importance to have multi-party system, because they wanted that link between both of the parties to see that they may, though we've been won in the election, but we can still have that what we call that chance of bringing things on the table that can work in the interest of the natives and the country. Then the other thing is that they saw, since Uganda was ruled by only one government, they think of bringing in multi-party system of governance. Ugandans saw that they may create more employment opportunities, okay? Because there will be various political parties. These political parties do need workers, they need secretaries, they need mobilizers, all those people are getting employed, okay? Therefore, getting into that multi-party system, Ugandans saw that their children, their grandchildren, they will be having a chance to participate in the politics of the country. Then the other thing is, another thing they saw in the multi-party system, because in countries like India, okay, where they are dealing in multi-party politics, we are seeing these opposition political parties putting on pressure this ruling government to work on the issues and providing social services to the people of Uganda. Therefore, they saw it, because if they could not allow it to come into or to pass through, they could not get some social services. Reason being that this ruling government or the ruling party would use what you call dictative means to rule the country. But with this multi-party system, this thing will be very easy and very simple to advise the ruling government that don't do this, on this time.
Okay, I see Josephine wants to come in at that point.
Yes, yeah. Derick has spoken something that has caught me. Like, among the aims or among the importances that he's bringing about, this multi-party is what we're having today. Yeah. And everything he's speaking of, these are the things they wanted in 2005, why people got very many votes. Then I go back to my point that people voted not because they understood the main reason for its creation, but they voted only because of NRM had spoken out. And then I go back to Jenna, there is a statement you said when you're introducing this, that were people voting because NRM had spearheaded this or not? So if he speaks about employment, note that all people that come up about the political parties that we have today are being employed. A few percentage that is getting work out of the multi-party. And we have seen very many people, we are going to speak about the IPOD. Very many people have totally neglected the joining. Very many political parties have totally neglected the joining of it. So if we are to look at then to avoid dictatorship, then what are we having today? Because if a certain political power shows up, its interest or what it wants to be established is what passes through. In other words, the aims or the importances Derick is citing out, they are irrelevant to me because they are no longer working, or they have never worked since its establishment. Because if today we are in 2022, and that is when the years, 17 years back, after it had been established, multi-party is there, but are really our people employed the way it was set for? Are we really not having dictators ruling the way it was set for? So the question goes back to him.
Okay, before he answers that question, let me ask Josephine one more question.
Yes.
Do you think the move by Ugandans to vote for multi-party politics was a good one?
If I'm to answer that question is wide and broad. The move for Ugandans to vote for them.
In your opinion, in 2005, I know by that time probably you didn't vote.
Yes.
So in 2005, if you were there in 2005, would you be among the people that would say, let us go for multi-party politics?
No.
Your reasons?
Why I don't support multi-party? Because first, not the ideas behind it, but first we look at even the body that brought up the idea.
Okay, so your issue is the body that brought up the idea.
Good.
Okay, let me move and bring another person into the discussion. That is Rovincer.
Yes, please.
So Rovincer, we are still talking about multi-party politics and its history, but I would like us to move a bit to right now. When you look at the various political institutions, which includes the political parties, do they embrace and in their day-to-day running, do they bring out do they embrace multi-party politics?
Yes, thank you very much for this wonderful talk. To me, to a very great extent, these political parties or this multi-party system has greatly been embraced. It has greatly been embraced. First of all, the multi-party system has got characteristics. There are these characteristics that they base on to do or to carry out their proper functioning. One, like they enhance regular and periodic elections of change of government. So these parties or these political parties, like since 2005, and that's 17 years, exactly 17 years down the road, Ugandans have been carrying out voting. Ugandans have been exercising their votes. They have been going to their respective polling stations to vote for their candidate. Only that Ugandans are interested in just one candidate from that time up to now. That's why you have yes, that's it. So we have seen that this multi-party system is still functioning just because it's doing what? It's carrying out periodic voting. Then
yes, please proceed.
Yes. The other thing is that we have seen that this multi-party system has prevented dictatorship. How? Like there is no one who can come in out of the blue to take on the position of being a president. Like all these other parties, the NOP, the FDC, JEMA, all the other parties, they can't allow that person to come out of the blue and say that I want to be a president. You get? Like you must be in a certain political party, or else if you want to come independent, that's accepted, but you can't come out of the blue and say that you want to be a president. So thereby preventing dictatorship. Then the other point is that it allows more shades of opinion. Like take an example in our parliament today. We have the opposition and we have the NRM and then those that are independent. I'm talking of the MPs. Like every side or every MP has or his, like they have their own opinions. Someone can come up with a very different opinion that's different from the other group. Are you getting? So thereby having very many opinions. So this multi-party system is still in existence just because of what is being done in our parliament today. Then my next point is that there is a wider choice of us, the Ugandans. One of the characteristics of initially, before like the multi-party system based on having a wider choice. So even up to today, Ugandans have a wider choice. If we go for voting, you can vote the candidate that you are interested in, and that's why in the recent national elections, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni emerged as the winner, followed by His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, followed by Patrick Amuriat, in that order. It means that every Ugandan had his or her own interest in those presidential candidates. So I conclude by saying that the multi-party system is still functioning in Uganda. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. I see all the rest of the panelists would like to say something. So let me start from Ivan.
Yes, thank you so much. Madam Rovincer has talked about the functioning of the multi-party system in Uganda. To me, I see a logical game behind the multi-party system of Uganda. If in 2000, the referendum was brought and NRM was against it and people also voted against, then in 2005, it was in support of the referendum, and then 90% who rejected the other time came up and voted for. There must be a logical game behind this. That means that the NRM first took some good time to look through this matter before supporting it back. Today we have these various political parties. They are fully participating in the politics. We see that they have all the rights, but behind it they are being controlled by the NRM party. That's why we see that the opposition can do nothing at this time around. Only when the government has given them space, that let them give them the right to do that, that's when they do it. But if the NRM says no, it's still a no.
Okay, Josephine, as you come in,
Yes.
I would like you to give us a picture, because from the entire panel, I can get that there are different loopholes that you are identifying from the system. What would you expect of a multi-party system? Maybe let us start from there.
Okay.
So what we expect of a multi-party system, we expect at least a change. Because if you are to look way back, like Ivan has said, 2000, someone is against something and everything is down. So then 2005, a party is towards it and everything comes up. So we expect a change to occur. Because if a change was occurring, and we have, let me say, this time we are having DP ruling, we have today NRM, because we all know that the party that initiated this multi-party was NRM, way back after the president has taken over power in 1986. So we expect at least in all these plus over 30 years, we expect at least if multi-party was working in these 17 years, if DP, because another thing we can look at these elections that we have just had in 2021, we had online elections. If we are to give an example of how online elections were, we say that it's going to be free, like free airtime to all individuals, presidential people that have contested. They are going to be allowed to hear out their views. You're going to see that oppression was there on some candidates. Some candidates were allowed to air out their views on certain televisions and others were limited. If someone came up with their campaign songs, some were abolished. This should not be aired out on this television or this television, and other songs were allowed. So we expect the multi-party at least to give equal rights to all candidates in different parties. And to go to Rovincer's point when she spoke about dictatorship, that is why I agree with Ivan that this is just a trick, or they are hiding something and they are putting out an image to us. We are seeing an image that we follow. We have multi-party, but in actual sense, we have the same party way back. It was abolished. So in other words, we don't have any political party. We are just having images that are fighting behind, we're having images that are showing us that they are parties, but in actual sense, it's only one party that is ruling the government of Uganda.
Okay, let me move to Derick. You earlier on also wanted to come in the discussion, but I would like us to look at the other political parties that we have in this country. We have NUP, we have FDC, we have DP, we have JEMA, we have all these political parties. We should also recognize the fact that we have also seen crossovers from these parties to NRM. And now my question to, and not just to NRM, we have also seen crossovers from DP to FDC. So Lord Mayor areas, Lokwago crossing over as well. Now my question to you is, these different political parties, do they reflect a multi-party democracy?
Thank you so much, our moderator. The truth of the matter, I'll take a standpoint and say that they are just reflecting what we call shadows in our eyes. Okay? They are not really political parties. They're just playing with Mr. 7 to hide or to blackmail our eyes so that we may see them fighting, but behind the curtain, they are really making a deal to pass. Okay? You've talked about what we call crossover. And we are seeing Norbert Mao right now cooperating with the so-called President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. For me, to my side, that is an abomination. Over that is something that is so bad to me. Because we've been having a lot of trust in that man called Norbert Mao. But as per now is really joining the government that we are really saying it has done wrong to Ugandans, that we are saying that it has ruined all Ugandan resources. Okay, therefore, to my side, or to take a standpoint, for sure, I don't see any kind of political party in Uganda, because from nowhere, in a couple of months, from a couple of years, we will see Honorable Chagrin also joining the ruling government, saying, you know what, I've seen this and this, you know we want to build the roads, you know what to do this, we know what to improve the service delivery to our people. Therefore, I'm also joining the what? The government. Therefore, to my side, I really don't take any kind of... I really regret why you have multi-party system in Uganda, okay? We should always remember that Mr. Museveni stated and said that by 2025, 2023, we will have no opposition. But we are really seeing his statement coming to reality, okay? Because we are seeing people betraying us. Therefore, to my side, I'm seeing nothing, okay?
Okay, let Josephine come in, then we move to Rovincer.
I've got his statement. Yes, I'm against the multi-party system, but I'm not against people's ideas. Let's look at Norbert Mao not as a political leader in DP. Let's look at him as a normal person who has an idea and wants to share the idea with the president of Uganda. And maybe the president of Uganda has the funds to put in the project that he's bringing in. So if Mao crosses to NRM like he's speaking, people should not be demoralized in what he did. Because me, I think Norbert Mao is holding an idea that he wanted or he wants shared to the president. And the president brought the idea.
Please. So the matter was, wait, just to take in just a minute. The matter was, Norbert Mao is a leader of what? Democratic Party. And also, he's holding a lot of Ugandans behind his back. Why do you say that he's holding an idea? Why don't you say they are holding an idea as DP as a party? Because we are seeing grievances within the party that they are saying that we are not with Mao when he's deciding, when dealing with
so maybe
making that
just
okay, let Josephine finish her point.
Just in his point that he's bringing about, maybe because this is something that we are speaking on behalf of Mao, who may not be among us. So maybe he shared out his idea with the party. With DP, he went on and told them, you know, I want to do this and this and this and this, and his idea was kicked off. So he saw that maybe his party members are not driving him somewhere. So he went to the president and the president brought his idea up. So when the president brought up his idea, that is when we see the alliance or the marriage between DP and the NRM party. So we should not look at the Norbert Mao as an individual. Let's look at him as a person who is holding an idea. That's why in the beginning I said, these political parties, people are leaving the political parties and they are looking at individuals who are holding the political parties. That's why I was against right from the start. They should not have been created, and without the political parties, me as Josephine, I can wake up one day and I have an idea. No one will attack me having an alliance with NRM. But let Honorable Chagulanyi of NOP come out with a good idea that he wants to put across. Still, it's the government in existence that has to put a way forward for him. So if the government puts a way forward for him, people will call it marriage totally. They will forget what is he selling to the president.
Okay, let's bring Rovincer into the discussion. So as you come in, I would like you to address this issue, the DP NRM cooperation agreement. What impact does it have on multi-party politics?
All right, thank you very much. First of all, let me briefly answer him. He said that he's very, very demoralized with what with the act.
You're answering Derick.
Yes,
Okay.
with what Nobert Mao did. But then there was a saying that there is light at the end of the tunnel. Maybe Nobert Mao was seeing darkness, was still in that tunnel, but then he has seen light in another political party. So the other political party, like it did what? It preached to him. NRM preached to Nobert Mao, and then he saw that his good intentions of the Uganda, his good heart of Uganda, he has to share it with the NRM members.
Okay, Rovincer, that the cooperation between DP and NRM working together, what impact does it have on multi-party politics?
The impact on multi-party politics, President Nobert Mao joined NRM as a person, but not as an individual, and that was like, there was a politician who said that soon they are going to elect a DP president, another president. So it means Nobert Mao, he crossed over just as a person, but not as a what? As a
Not
political
as a
party.
party.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. Let me bring Ivan back into the discussion. Yet, Ivan,
yes.
your opinion on the DP NRM cooperation agreement and its impact on multi-party politics.
Thank you very much. I was so interested when I saw Nobert Mao getting married to President Museveni in that political way. To me, I've been following up Nobert Mao because he's one person I love so much, so I follow him up. Just in a few months back, this is a person who has been speaking strongly against the current government.
Of course.
And when I see him again collaborating with the man he has been speaking against within a short period of time, I get some questions in my mind. If at all I have someone, a lady, let me say, Madame Josephine, we are against each other, yes? I speak against her and she speaks against me. Then within no time, or within 2 months or three, then you hear that we've scheduled a wedding ceremony. We are getting married. What comes into your mind? Either we have been faking,
Of course.
the other bad relationship we have been having, yes, or she's interested in something from me, or I'm interested in something from her. To me, when I look at this cooperation, we have the negatives and the positives.
Of course.
Among the negatives out of this cooperation, it's that people on the opposition side have been demoralized.
Yeah.
If we see a man like Nobert Mao doing that, what will the rest of the people who have been following up Nobert Mao do? If at all they also get chance to collaborate with the people in the government. For me, I now come to evidence what the president once said, that no political party in Uganda can defeat me. I will defeat them with logic.
Of course.
That is the logic I talked about when I said that NRM coming up and supporting the coming back of the multi-party system. It's because they first revised this system and they first built up a logic on how they will manage the multi-party system. And this is what they are doing. They are fully managing other political parties. Positively, Nobert Mao, I think Nobert Mao, so that they cannot defeat the NRM. That's why he decided to join them. There is no reason as to why I stay outside and I have no hope of getting the brain and I still reject to be welcomed inside the room to also have a share. Nobert Mao is a good politician, and to me I think the government of Uganda and the citizens of Uganda have been missing his service when he has been on the opposition. Because when you're on the opposition, your main aim is to outcompete the government in power.
Yes.
You're limited to offering services to your nation. But now that Nobert Mao is fully in the cabinet, let us see him exercising what he had for the Ugandans, and that's what I'm eagerly waiting to see. Let me see a president, a second president in the cabinet, giving us what he has been promising.
Okay, so let me move to Josephine. So Josephine, the NRM cooperation agreement that we have heard Ivan say there are positives and then there are negative sides to the cooperation agreement. Now, talking about it in the context of multi-party politics, what do you think about two political parties coming together to cooperate? When you look at the NRM-DP cooperation agreement, there are different issues that are discussed. What effect do you think it has on the multi-party politics?
What people or what Ugandans we have failed to understand is this. We have failed to understand that nobody now joining NRM, we are making it a big deal out of it. Because I've loved the conclusion of Ivan on his positive part. He was bringing out what he's going to do, that this man has had ideas which can build the country. So him being accepted in NRM is building the country. Then what is it impacting on the multi-party? Of course, I started by saying we don't have multi-party system. Yes, they reintroduced it, but it was just a shield, or it is just an image or a picture that we are being addressed to, that we have them. But in actual sense, they are not in existence. Yeah. Yes, we have parties. That's why today we have very many parties. But their work has to first be legalized by the government to take part.
Okay, let us take a short break and we will come back with much more on this topic. Thank you.
The Citizens Chatroom happens every Friday at 2 p.m. on Civic Space TV Online on Facebook and YouTube. We invite you to be part of this conversation. Civic Space TV, freedom always.
Welcome back to the inter-university debate. We are still having students from St. Lawrence University. I'm your moderator. My name is Lake Gender Fancy. So let us have back Ivan. We are still on the state of multi-party politics in Uganda. So Ivan, we were still discussing the DP NRM cooperation agreement. Now, my question to you is, with DP historically being a strong proponent of multi-party politics in Uganda, so after the cooperation agreement, do you think this is a barrier for multi-party politics in the country?
Pardon?
With DP signing the cooperation agreement with NRM, do you think this is the end of multi-party politics?
The agreement between DP I will say nobody Mao, because it's not that the whole DP signed, because I see some people disagreeing with Nobert Mao's decision. But to me, I think it's not the end, but it's a big blow to the political parties. I think very many people who have been following the opposition have lost hope, because Nobert Mao has been one of the vibrant opposition leaders or vibrant key opposition men we've had. So us seeing him crossing, we really lose hope. We lose hope, and I think there is a way it will demoralize the people on the opposition. But we shall still have the political parties, strong as they are, but this is a big blow. It has a very big reduction or negative effect on the side of the opposition parties.
Okay, thank you. Let me move to Josephine. So Josephine, in your earlier discussion, you talked about if we could go back to 2005, you wouldn't campaign for the multi-party politics in Uganda. Yes. What kind of political system do you think best suits this country?
So before even I bring in the political system that I think we as Uganda we should follow, let me just go back a bit about what Ivan has just spoken about here, about them being demoralized. I hate when I hear that word demoralized. Let's go back at why DP was called, or why it was formed. Truth and justice is their theme. They want to promote that. Truth and justice. So its main formulation, the background or the history of DP itself, you're going to see its main reason why they called for a party to come up was to fight for the rights of the people, because students were not going beyond P5. Catholic students. So it was mainly started up writing against the teachers, by the teachers, in order to let their students go beyond P5. So let's not forget the core values. It was not mainly called for politics, that we should lead the presidency, we should lead this. They mainly looked at the problems of the people, what were people facing, and then they came up with this government, with this party. So now that people are speaking about that is making an alliance with NRM, then which kind of political party would I advertise for Uganda to have?
Okay, Josephine, before you even go there,
yes,
do you think the DP NRM cooperation agreement was a good move for multi-party politics?
You're going off what I said. If you're to look at DP as a party, who is holding it? And this is what people are looking at it. That because Norbert Mao came up with his idea, he made an alliance with NRM. It's not that the entire DP made an alliance. Yes? Okay. It's their leader that came up with an idea and he sold it to the NRM leader. So when he sold the NRM leader, the DP relationship with NRM, yes, why I said in the beginning that we don't have political parties. All of this that we are having, they are shields that they are hiding behind, because there is this one political party that is leading ahead. And when the DP leader comes out and joins with the NRM, his idea is good. And that's why I support the cooperation between these two.
You say the cooperation was good?
Yes.
Okay.
Then which kind of government would which kind of party would I advise?
What kind of political system?
Yeah, political system would I advise Uganda to have? If you are to look at USA among the leading countries, USA in 1821 established what we call the Democratic Party or government. So if I'm a history teacher, and if we are to look at democracy as a way of governance, that in case we have a problem and we democratically rule out, or we democratically reason out, or establish, or let me say, democratically solve the issue. If we have maybe that kind of a government, or another government that I can mainly urge us to have, maybe the independent one, that can totally be out, that no one is having a particular political party that I'm falling to. I'm just an independent individual who will come in, I'm Josephine, and I want to be elected for presidency, without us hiding behind a certain political party which is not working out.
Okay, let me move to Derick. So Derick, let us move away from the DP NRM cooperation agreement and talk about IPOD.
Yes.
IPOD was formed ideally as a platform for these different political parties to dialogue. Do you think IPOD is still living up to that standard?
Yes, thank you so much, our moderator. Yeah, when we go back to IPOD, first of all, our viewer will need to know what is IPOD, okay? IPOD, that is the Inter-Party Organization for Dialogue. The purpose for it was to bring all political parties in Uganda on one table so that they may share the same idea and all the same problem that is making the country suffer, so that they may get a resolution out together. Okay. So therefore, IPOD, I'm going to your question. IPOD as an organization, it has its principles or core principles that it follows. For example, it has what we call gender equality. We are having transparency. We are having responsibility. We are having accountability. Okay, it's there to account for those political parties. Back to your question, is it moving on its standards? Let me take a standpoint. To a greater extent, it is really it is not really moving on its standards. Reason being that it is really bending over, it is really depending more on the ruling government, okay? It is really, its decisions are being interfered over, are being decided by the ruling government. Okay, for example, IPOD could not come in to intervene in the chaos that happened in Arua when I recall in the 2021 elections. Okay, it failed, it was silent. IPOD could not, up to now, IPOD is not intervening in the case of Honorable Sewanyana, Honorable Segilinya, that are still deteriorating or that are still suffering within the jail. Therefore, IPOD, when it comes to its principles that gender equality, really I'm seeing it is taking a side, meaning that it is being influenced by a certain man, which I will not mention, but maybe he's the head of the state. Okay, that is it.
Okay, let me move to Rovincer. So we are talking about IPOD, which Derick brought out the reasons why IPOD was formed and the principles that IPOD has. Now, we have also seen different political parties coming out to say we are not going to join IPOD. We saw NUP, and then we saw the statement from FDC as well, saying, you know what, we are not going to join IPOD. Now, my question is, what are the different challenges within IPOD that is making these political parties come out and state their different grievances and say, we are not going to join IPOD?
Okay, thank you very much. The different challenges that are in IPOD, or the main reasons as to why the other political parties are not or don't want to be part of the IPOD, it's because IPOD at first, they had their own, they had aims and objectives. Among them was to promote inter-party dialogue and peaceful resolutions. But then they are going contrary to that objective. How?
Yes.
Like they are not having these peaceful, or they are not having these dialogues, or they are not solving conflicts that are within us, that conflicts that are in the people, or conflicts that are in other parties. So that's why other parties or other political parties denied themselves from being part of the IPOD. Then the other objective is the objective for the IPOD was to foster and facilitate peaceful resolution, was to promote and facilitate peaceful resolutions or cooperation with other political parties. But then we are saying, we saw that there is a lot of, how should I term it? There is pressure in political parties. That's why, there is too much pressure in other political parties, and thereby this IPOD can't come up and settle the pressure or the conflicts, and that's why other political parties like NUP don't want to join the IPOD, just because they see that it is, they see that the IPOD is no longer on its objectives.
Okay, thank you. Let me bring Ivan into the discussion. I see Josephine would like to come in. So let's start with Josephine and then we get to Ivan.
So, like, she's speaking of NUP being not part of the IPOD. Let's draw our way back, because it's among the aims you've mentioned: unity, peace, what and what. Yeah? What mainly, if you have to look at this political party, is it not the part or the cause of chaos that is happening? Maybe that is why IPOD is keeping quiet, not to come out to solve the problems. She's speaking of the pressure within the different political parties. Yes, there is pressure, but what we have to ask ourselves is, what causes the pressure? Because it was put in place to unite different groups. So if we say we want a body that is going to keep us together, we want a body that is going to keep us together, and then our solutions are going to be got when we sit, and then another one says, no, we are not going to be part of you. Pressure, of course, has to rise, and again, problems are not going to be solved only because you failed to sit. So why IPOD is not coming up, I think, mainly because some cases have started within the groups that refuse to come up, and that's why you're going to come in and ask ourselves, do we really need the army in the parliament? Do we really need to stop some things by pressure? Because if you're to look at 2021 elections, very many people lost their lives. Very many people lost their lives. But someone will come out and will be supporting IPOD and will be saying IPOD failed to solve the problems, and that's why we're having parties fighting. If you're to look about the elections that recently took place in Mawerere University, someone of UCU was stabbed to death. Are we really bringing up these political parties and we have that we have in these different universities? Are we going to blame them? Leaving them from the university level that we are holding today. Are we going to blame the political parties that we have around us in the community for the occurrence or for the death of different people that died in 2021? Or are we blaming IPOD as a group? So me, if I'm thinking around why maybe IPOD does not show up to solve some issues, like she's saying that it's failing or it's facing such a problem because of this and this, it failed to solve this problem. Why it doesn't come up to solve such a problem? You're not a member of it. You fail to join it, so it doesn't want to intervene.
No, let her finish.
So you don't want to intervene. So what it decides, yes, it's there to keep us together, but you fail to come up.
Okay, Josephine, do you think IPOD itself, as IPOD from the time it was formed, do you think it's living up to its principles?
Yes, no one can live 100% okay. We all have aims that when I'll be 25, I have to have bought a car, I should have established a school, but we become 25 and established a school, but you don't have a car. So IPOD has principles, but not all principles that it created, it's living up to them till today. But some, it has tried to live up to them.
Like which ones?
So it's practicing, if you have to look at here, democracy. Don't we have democracy in our country?
Okay. I think Derick disagrees with that. I think Derick disagrees with that. Let's hear from Derick.
I'm hearing my colleague or my fellow honorable really deceiving us on air. Okay? He's really telling us that even if you're not part of IPOD, will not solve your problems. But we are seeing those guys, that all those political parties that are not part of IPOD receiving some funds from IPOD. From which article of the Constitution are they operating in to receive money from IPOD, yet they are not members of the of the inter-party organization for dialogue? If you're not part of us, please don't even come for the funds, because I'm hearing no National Unity Platform got billions of money from IPOD. Okay, and you're saying that if you're not part of us, therefore IPOD is...
Let's go back to the idea.
Just let him finish and then we...
Yes. Okay. What I'm trying to question is, why are you saying that the reason as why you're not taking care of your chaos or your problems is that you're not part of us? Then if I'm not part of you, let us take an example between him and you. Then why do you support me if I'm not part of you? Okay?
Because...
Okay. Josephine, don't you think that shows some sort of disorganization within IPOD? When it comes to allocation of funds, please come and get funds and do your political activities. You have chaos within your political party. You're not part of us.
You can call that disorganization, but in my aspect, I don't look at it as disorganization. I can look at that as love. So we want you to take part in politics and we want to fund you. We are given the money. Why do we then bribe or sit and become corrupt? We are given the money to fund you because these people get the money, not with within themselves. So they have to fund out these political organizations. So if they have the money, why then sit back? Because you're not part of us, we won't pay you. You know that we have very many people, I can take a circumstance that we have very many people who are rich in the country, and we have those that are poor. We have those poor who have never gone to school, and we have those poor that have ever gone to school. And the rich can sponsor out the poor who are not in school. Someone will raise a question and will ask, why are the rich not going out to schools and see people who cannot pay for themselves fees and then they pay for those? Why are they going back to the ground for these people who are not in school and then they are paid for? They want to show you the goodness of school because you're not in it. So IPOD, I think, the main reason why it gives out money to these people who are not part of them, only because it wants to show them that we can still finance you.
Excuse me.
We can still have for you.
If you want to convince me to come into your house, first organize Like,
Okay, yes, yes, Rovincer can submit.
yeah, I'm saying that if you want to convince me to come into your house, first make sure that there is no chaos in your house. You organize it. That's why NOP is no longer IPOD, because it went contrary to its objectives and principles.
Why
That's
is
it.
IPOD providing funds to NOP, yet it is not a member? Okay? Because in the constitution for IPOD, it is supposed to give funds to its members that do participate in the so-called summits that they do hold.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
You can't confirm to me that NOP is not part of IPOD. No. It is part.
Okay, let me get back to Ivan. Ivan, I saw your hand up.
Yes, thank you very much. I've been listening to the argument about IPOD. To me, to some extent, when I think about the way our country is being run, I have the belief that in the government, we have people who are taking time to think on how to spend the little resources we have aimlessly. Because I don't see any need of IPOD. We have very many sectors that are lacking, but the government comes up with some ideas to create ways of spending the country's money. IPOD is irrelevant to the country. I don't see any need of IPOD. I've never seen any positive contribution of IPOD apart from them sharing money and maybe the government using it as a chance to bring them together such that it can get ideas from them. I really support NUP and FDC if they say they are not part of IPOD. Because the very person calling you and providing the bread on the table for you to share with him is the very person who is going to knock you when you get out
of course
of that room.
Okay, Ivan, then let me ask you this. If when you look at the principles and the reasons why IPOD was formed,
Yes.
and then you put them versus your submission that you don't see the relevance of IPOD,
Yes.
would you see the relevance of IPOD if they had stuck to their principles?
Yes, IPOD would be of great importance if at all they were moving in line with their aims and objectives.
Yes.
It would be of great importance because if I'm having someone who is against me, but we can get time to be on the same round table peacefully, and we talk and share views, it will be a very, very good platform for me to pick out the good and to also revise my mistakes. It will be very good for the government and also for the opposition side that both parties would get different views from each other. But due to the fact that they are no longer following their aims and objectives as to why they formed IPOD, I think it's now irrelevant.
Okay, let me move to Josephine to conclude on the discussion of IPOD.
So
before you delve into your point that you had prepared, I would like you to also address. So when you look at the reasons why IPOD was formed and its principles, how do we achieve that as a country? The dialogue, the unity between political parties, how do we achieve that? Can we still achieve it with IPOD, or what do you suggest that we do in order to still achieve those objectives?
Yeah, I agree with IPOD, and I believe that we can still achieve it with IPOD. And that's why in Ivan's submission that he has just concluded now, he said that if it had you asked him a question that if IPOD followed its principles, could it do good? And he agreed with me. And we believe no one is totally bad. That's why historians, we have very many personalities we speak of, but at least we look for the 4 good points on a person. You can't be totally bad. So yes, IPOD is bad, and yes, it went somehow, somewhere off its principles, but still we have some achievements that it has put in place. Right. We just need to hope it up. We just need to put in another hand So that's why you've asked that, should we continue with it? I agree that instead of establishing another policy or another way of joining these different political parties, let's just put different straight laws that those that we fail to achieve, let them sit and make ways of how to achieve them. So that if they formulate ways of achieving them, then it can be a success.
Okay.
Before, Madam Moderator, just a minute. I want to pose a question. It's not really a question, but I want to talk to her. She has said that a person cannot. Should we call this DP NRM cooperation or agreement? Is it an achievement for IPOD? Since it was formulated to bring unity within the political parties?
Not really.
Should we call it an achievement for IPOD?
Not really.
Okay, I see Ivan responding. So, Ivan, how do we, Josephine agreed with you
Yes.
that if IPOD had stuck to its principles and objectives,
Yes.
then it would be relevant. So at this point, 2022, that we are seated here together speaking, how do we strengthen IPOD and make it still implement its principles?
I think the only way we can strengthen IPOD is when the ruling party has accepted to show the rest of the members of IPOD what to do. But if the ruling party is still after manipulating the opposition side, IPOD will never achieve. So the achievement of IPOD is based on the ruling party.
Okay, let's move away from IPOD. Yes. And I'll start with Rovincer. Let's move away from IPOD and talk about the size of parliament. When we look at our size of parliament right now, it's a big parliament. And I've seen on several occasions MPs actually lacking seats.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and then there are several issues in there that I would like us to unpack today. The issues of regional imbalance when it comes to constituencies, and then the presence of the army. So, Rovincer, I would like you to start with the size of parliament. What is your take on the size of parliament? Should we have a big size of parliament in order to come out with perfect laws?
Yeah, the size of the parliament is indeed alarming. The size is very huge, and there are other bodies that personally I see that they are not necessary. For example, like the army, the army takes they have 5 representatives.
Actually, 10.
Yeah, sorry. I mean they are 10 representatives in the parliament. So I don't see a reason as to why the army gets involved in the parliament. Like me, I don't see any reason as to why they are involved. Then we also have the youth, and then if you look at the size of the youth, for them they are just 5. Moreover, in the whole country they are just 5. So I think the size of the army, like they would have added the size of the army to the youth to make 15 representatives of the youth, and then they remove out the army.
Okay, so Ivan, what do you think about the presence of the army in parliament?
Yes, the presence of the army in parliament wouldn't be a big issue or something bad if at all they had a reasonable size or a reasonable number of representatives. Like I've said earlier, in the government, we have people who are not sleeping, thinking on how they can spend
Of course.
the country's resources. We cannot have 10 representatives of the army in parliament. That implies that there is also a logic behind that big number of the army in parliament. Maybe the government, I would say that the government is after creating more employment opportunities, but it's not so. Because someone being in the army, that means someone is already employed.
Of course.
So it's not about creating employment opportunities, but maybe they have some hidden agendas that we cannot tell. Maybe they want to limit the right of speech in parliament, because that big number can even scare some members of parliament to utter out whatever they feel like saying. So to me, I believe the number is so big If we are having one president representing the whole country, you can also have 3 people from the army representing the army, and they can bring all the ideas. Among them, the representatives of the army, you may find out that some of them take even 2 years without saying anything in parliament, but they are representing the army.
And they are being paid.
Yes, on many occasions, we have seen the army doing different things, good and bad, yes? And when the parliament comes up to question, all these 10 members cannot give the information. They will keep quiet, or we shall have one person to speak. That means they can have one spokesperson in the parliament for the army, and that's all. And then we can save the other resources that are used to pay the rest, because MPs get allowances, they are paid the salary and all other privileges. So in this time, when we are facing many hardships in our economy, such resources would be diverted to at least subsidizing, yes, industries, to see that at least the prices of commodities can come down.
Okay, Ivan, before I shift to Josephine, so you said the size should be reduced from 10 to maybe 3.
Yes.
What is the relevance? What is the relevance of the army in parliament? What is the importance of the army being represented in parliament, whether it being by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? What is the importance of a representation?
Yes, the importance of the army being represented in parliament is that parliament or the legislative council can have any required information from the army. Yes. If at all there is any operation going on, or of which it's not being done, because recently I had MPs complaining that UPDF was sent to Congo, but the parliament was not notified. With all the 10 representatives, still the parliament was not notified.
So in other words,
let him just complete.
Yes, so to me, I think a few number is enough.
Okay.
Yes, for the army in parliament.
Okay, let's move to Josephine.
Me, I'm totally against seeing any army person in the parliament, because he has totally said that even what happened in Congo was not put across to the parliament. So it means they are irrelevant. They are doing nothing. If the 10 can do nothing, are we sure that the 3 are going to represent something in the parliament? So in other words, that position should be strictly off. Let us remain with others. At least we use this money that could be going to the army to do something else. Because if you are to look at the army, they are being represented in their different constituencies. That's why we have MPs of different constituencies. And listen, let the MP of that area tell us what is happening in the area. But a person of army in the parliament, I'm totally against it. So we don't need army people in the parliament.
Really?
Okay. I wanted to move to a different discussion, but I had Derick say really. So Derick, what is your take on
yes,
the army being in parliament?
Me, I support the army to be represented in the parliament, and I support army to carry out what we call classified operations. And have you ever heard about what we call a classified budget?
Yes, definitely.
Yes, we are taking out 300 billion, but it's classified. Don't ask anything. Don't ask for the accountability. Yes. Therefore, for the issue of Congo, UPDF involving itself in the issues of Congo, it was really a classified operation. It needed the army could not first come to you in the parliament to take suggestions. Should we go? We are just wasting our funds.
Then why are they being represented? Why are we having representatives?
To inform the house.
Then why are we having representatives if they are carrying out classified information?
By law, by law, if the army of the country, Uganda, is going out for a certain operation, the parliament has to be first notified by law. So we are seeing now, yes, UPDF going without the parliament being notified. Do we really have the law and the constitution?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, Derick. Okay, Derick. Before you conclude.
Yes.
So you said they should be represented in parliament.
They should.
Should they be represented to the tune of 10?
No, they should be reduced to the tune of 5, we normalize the numbers because we are all equal citizens. We pay all taxes.
Yes.
We pay the same. We all enjoy the same environment. We all take in the same oxygen. Okay. Therefore, they should be represented in 5 times within the parliament.
Okay. Let me move to Rovincer. My last question to you is on constituencies in the different regions. What is your take on that?
The constituencies, as to me, because every constituency has an area MP, and then every district has a woman member of parliament. So to me, I see it's the way it is. It's okay. It's the way it's supposed to be, because every constituency has to be represented, and this issue of gender balance, whereby every woman there is a woman MP at every district level. It's also reflecting gender balance. So me I see as
just a
something.
minute.
Yes.
Just a minute.
Okay.
Yes. Just a minute. I want to, not even supplementing, but inquiring from her. Really, he has said about he has no any kind of query about a constituency within the parliament. But for me, I'm having a lot of queries. Really, we have what we call regional imbalance. Okay? We are having our central region really offering over, giving out, actually, when we go to Uganda's budget, we are the people in the central, we really give out a lot of taxes to supplement or to facilitate all the country's operations. But when you look at the constituencies, we will really face what we call imbalance in service delivery. Move to Western region. Actually, I want you to go and take a survey. Go stand around that welcome in Masaka. You see vehicles that are sloping that side of Kabale and Mawerere during weekend. You'll get to know that really our resources are really diverting to the western, and we are really suffering. We are having roads that are having potholes that are really making us to even get broken legs. But therefore, to that issue of constituency, really we are dissatisfied, or we are not contented with the way we are represented, because we are seeing even constituency of only 200 people. They are having the member of parliament within the what? Within the they're having a member of parliament within the parliament to represent them. But we in Chotera, my constituent is having over 40, over like 30 or 50 people, 50,000 people. But you find we have only 1 MP, okay? But for them, they're having over 4. I don't know whether the president is trying to create employment opportunities for those people. I can't guess. But really, we need what we call, to go back on the table, we see how did we divide our constituencies, because we need what we call equality when it comes to service delivery.
Okay, so Ivan,
Yes.
what should we do about the issue of regional imbalance when it comes to constituencies?
The issue of regional imbalance when it comes to constituencies, I'll be different from his view that maybe the country's resources are being directed in one direction. Because 2 months back, I went to Kapchora. I went that side for a field work. But districts, Sironko, Budaka, Bulambuli, Kapchora, you move a few kilometers, you find a district headquarter. You move just a few kilometers, you find another district headquarter. I asked myself, what is the relevance of having all these many districts? And within a district, we must have a woman MP.
Yes.
Compulsory. Then within a district, you find 3 constituencies, all 2. Most of the districts are having 3 constituencies. So I think that is expanding the expenditure of the country. If we are having a president ruling the whole country, we can also have 1 constituency, or we can have 1 member of parliament, all 2, representing a district. And that is enough. But you find that in village areas, we have very many constituencies. Then in urban areas, we have few. Yet we have a big population living in the urban areas. You find here an MP representing over 40,000, as he said, people. And then we are having an MP deep in Budaka or Bulambuli, such districts with a sparse population, representing a very, very little number of people. this is bringing in imbalance in the parliament. You find that the East and then the West are leading in the number of MPs. The East and the West, they are leading, then the North, and then the Central coming last. But then the biggest percentage, all the biggest population is within the Central. So to me, I think we should have more MPs in the Central Party, because this is where we have a lot of people that need to be represented.
It's because Central is a bit modernized, so there is no need of making them civilized again. Yes, let them first civilize.
You mean even in Budaka we need to represent grasses?
Okay, let us okay, let us regroup. So Josephine, what is your say? I saw your hand up.
I want to address a question to these two people that are saying, yes, I agree with them, we have regional imbalance, but they are mainly putting this in that Eastern and Western are having more, and then Central we are having few. Do you want to recruit more people in Central, or we reduce the other number? So that's the question I want you people to answer me.
Yes, one.
Okay, so let Ivan answer, then we'll move later to Derick. So should we have should we recruit more people in the Central, or we should reduce the size of Parliament?
The size of Parliament should be reduced, but in the line of reducing the size, the members of Parliament from rural areas should be reduced, because some of them are totally representing nothing. Then the number of MPs in Central should be increased. In which way? We can decide to reduce the constituencies, yes, in rural areas by, let me say, 70. Then we increase in Central by 10. We shall still have a reduction.
Derick, what do you think about Ivan's math?
Yes.
In that regard?
In that regard, I take a standpoint and say, in fact, we need to reduce the number of MPs. Okay? Let us
not increase it.
Don't increase anything, but leave those representing Central as they are. But go to Western, Eastern, and the so-called Northern, reduce those numbers, reduce those MPs, or cut off those MPs, because we are seeing them representing even trees and even animals in the bush. Okay, we are seeing no people giving them views. They're just there taking our money, taking our resources, which resources would have been used to subsidize these companies so that we may not face this hyperinflation that is in the country. Therefore, I take a standpoint and say we should reduce the size of the Parliament in accordance of providing more subsidies or more resources to other needy sectors of the government.
Okay, thank you. We have come to the end of our talk show. I'm going to give each panelist a chance to give us your closing remarks. And your closing remarks, please feature a way forward for this country. And I think I will start right from the first person who opened the discussion, and that is Ivan.
Thank you very much. We have been discussing issues about politics. And to me, I think Uganda's politics, we are not badly off, and I cannot say we are well off. Reason being, sometimes I appreciate what the government does. I'm a person who appreciates where the government does the right, and then I will criticize where I see the wrong being done. But to me, I think within the government, we are having some individuals who mind less about the poor. We have holy sufferers within the country who have nothing, but then we have the rich and people who have access to the country's resources, people who have access to the national cake, and as they take a share, they satisfy themselves, and then they lay the, let me say, the remains of the cake for them to step on, instead of sending them back to the people who are suffering. There is a way some expenditures are being done irrelevantly. For example, the 40 million that was shared among the MPs in Parliament, that was so bad to the country like Uganda that is suffering. They shared that money, and when you multiply the 40M and the number of MPs we are having, then you look at our budget, that we still needed some money to fund our budget. You look at the way our people are suffering. Schools don't have buildings. UPE schools. And these are MPs who are living in such areas. Yes? And these are MPs who move around such areas asking for votes for them to go to parliament. But when it comes to sharing the money, they don't mind. Let me conclude by saying this. These MPs have forgotten that the more they eat and they don't think on creating a favorable environment for the people to also access the country's resources, the more people will go to them and beg. These people have a lot of pressure that the more the situation becomes worse to other people behind them, the more these people run to their offices to ask for funds and then to ask for support. That means they're also having that burden. But in the other way around, they are harvesting what they planted. Because if they are denying us a chance to access some services by them sharing huge amounts of money, that means we are going to lack and we are going to become beggars. And we shall beg from them because we very well know that these people are earning a lot of money. Thank you.
Yes, Josephine, your concluding remarks and a way forward for this country.
So we have looked at a topic that deals with multi-party. And you've seen us discussing different things, how we agree with the multi-party, how it should be done, what should we adopt and what we should not adopt. Just as Ugandans, that I want us to learn something. Let's learn that let's take up not people, but let's look at the ideas these people are holding. Not that everyone we have in the country is bad, and not that everyone, whatever the person does, is bad. But we have some people that we hate, but their ideas behind can lead us to success. Or their ideas they are holding can make us reach very far. So that's why you have heard us discussing the NRM-DP association. So as Uganda, let's take up ideas that these people are holding for the betterment of their country. Then as I'm concluding, Derick, help me answer this question. You've spoken about reducing the Eastern and the Western MPs. Are you not thinking about the riots that will occur in the country if you reduce those of Eastern and leave those of Central normal? Because the people of Central will, yes, appreciate, will be okay. But people in the Western and the people in the Eastern will riot. You're reducing their MPs and yet Central is being left stand still. So I think Derick will answer that. Thank you.
Okay, Derick, you can answer that in your concluding remarks.
Thank you so much, our moderator. I'll first and foremost, let me first answer this colleague of mine here. To me, there is no good without bad, okay? For the good of our country, we should all agree that the members of parliament in Western and Eastern must be reduced, okay? Even if you chaos, even if you do what, you know, I love this statement. I love these statements. You know, we have our president, is good at dealing with chaos, okay? If he comes in that case of reducing those MPs on Rachitula, Asmanya, Rampara, you know, those MPs, okay? And then he comes in the East, they reduce MPs. I am sure those people will not riot, okay? Because they are not, they don't need more from the government, okay? As people in the modern areas, okay? Therefore, me, I conclude by saying I will not see any kind of chaos because our president is good at dealing with what we call riots and chaos in the country. We just provide tear gas, everything up there, okay? They will just do what? Suppress everything, okay? That is it. Then in my concluding remarks, we've talked about several topics. For example, democracy, we've talked about the size of the parliament, the presence of the army within the... My concluding remarks are the army must be represented within the parliament, and then the size of the parliament must be reduced to a normal size because we are seeing our neighboring countries are having less ministers, are having less MPs, but services are being delivered to the natives in the way that are supposed to be delivered. Then I will end by saying that IPOD has not done its role at all, okay? If it is possible, we should close offices for IPOD. We let those people move out. We tell them you've done nothing. you're just bringing chaos within the country. Thank you so much. For God and my country.
Okay, thank you. Let's move to Rovincer.
All right, thank you very much for this wonderful discussion that we had. Conclusively, let me pose these rhetorical questions to the Ugandans or to our viewers. One, like my concern is more of in Karamoja. One, the question says that, is Karamoja part of Uganda? If yes, are they leaders? If yes, do they work effectively, or like they should be added? So I think we should the government should decrease on the representatives of the government should decrease on some of the representatives in parliament, like the army, and increase on the leaders, on the MP leaders in Karamoja for their proper way of living. Like, see the way they are dying of hunger. So I think those people should be like they need more leaders for them to have a better way of living. Thank you very much.
Okay. Before we let you go and
Yes.
close off, do you think the Karamoja crisis is a representation issue?
No.
The Karamoja crisis, yes, there is an extent that I think those people see the way they live, see their houses. Like you really wonder whether they are also part of Uganda.
They have MPs in Parliament.
Yes, they have MPs, but I think they should be added more MPs for the effective way of living.
We should be wasting our funds.
Okay, we will probably have that fight in the boardroom. So we have come to the end of our talk show for today. That is the inter-university debate. Today we hosted students of St. Lawrence University. I would like to say thank you to our dear panelists, students from St. Lawrence University, for intellectually discussing this topic for today. I would like to say thank you to Civic Space TV and Center for Constitutional Governance for organizing the inter-university debate. Thank you to our viewers for watching. See you again next week, same time. Bye.